What's up, guys? We're gonna be doing some pork tacos, Southwest Texas style. I'm gonna be using some premium pork butt roast that I purchased at Walmart, and they average about 7.30, 7.26 pounds in that range. This was a little difficult to find as this whole COVID-19 is kind of screwing the meat market. So we're gonna be using 3 whole roasts bone-in for that. And I'm gonna go ahead and use some salt and pepper to go ahead and season this pork. I had an empty kosher salt Dollar Tree container that I purchased for $1. So I'm gonna just put everything in there, equal parts. I used half a cup of kosher salt to half a cup of restaurant style black pepper. I like this restaurant style black pepper because it's pretty coarse. I saw that it's almost about the same sizing as this kosher salt, so I like this chunky style. That's what we're going to be using here, also called Texas style seasoning. Okay, so I went ahead and turned the roasts upside down with the fat cap exposed. I'm not going to trim anything whatsoever at all. I'm going to go ahead and have these fat caps protect the meat, as we're going to go ahead and put it fat side down. My heat is going to be coming from the bottom in my Masterbuilt Gravity Feed Series smoker, so I want to go ahead and protect as much of the meat as I can. So I'm going to put equal, I'm going to go ahead and put equal parts of the seasoning on it. Not too much. I mean, personal preference, has a lot to do with it. I hardly use any salt whatsoever in any of my foods. Me and my wife, we both meal prep. So just a light coat is all you need. I'm going to start with the fat cap, and then we're going to be moving on to the sides, and then ultimately the top. I really don't like having to be turning and having all this seasoning fall off, so we're going to start from the bottom, and then finally at the top is how we're going to leave it. We're going to set it just how it lays back on its lid, and that's all we're going to pretty much just go ahead and season. Okay, so now that we have everything seasoned up, just go ahead and inspect it for any little parts that you did not season. Now would be a good time to inspect any flaps of meat that you can have. So I would suggest lift up those flaps, go ahead and sprinkle some seasoning there. But so far I'm satisfied with how much season I have on this pork shoulders. Another thing I'm gonna add, a little secret ingredient, MSG. A lot of people are against MSG. MSG this, MSG that. Foods made without MSG. But if you just do a little bit of research, I mean, MSG isn't really anything bad. I ended up watching a documentary on TV that pretty much filled me in on what MSG is, how it makes everything taste delicious. There's types of different MSGs. In this case, we're going to be using just a plain and simple MSG to go and add a little bit of an extra flavor. This is kind of like a salt, so I'm just going to sprinkle, just a very, very, very light coat of it only on the top of these porkers here, to give it a little extra bit of a flavor. And that's all we're going to go with. A little bit extra of that MSG there. You can get this at anywhere you want. All right, so we're going to go ahead and use the Masterbuilt Gravity Feed Series smoker grill. I want to give a big shout out to Masterbuilt for making me part of their ambassador program. They're very generous to go ahead and gift me this smoker, which I absolutely love. I mean, you guys got to check them out at masterbuilt.com. Alright, so what we're going to be using is, the way it works is, it's a gravity fed. You open up the hopper lid, you add your wood, chunks, your charcoal, whatever you want to use in there. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and layer my smoker to add that extra smoke flavor. So I'm going to go ahead and add about, about 4 inches worth of coals at the bottom with this lump charcoal. This is my first time using this charcoal here. There's a bunch of irregular pieces. The hopper is a certain, dimension, so I'm not too sure how it's gonna do well with these big pieces. So I added about 4 inches of charcoal, and I'm gonna add a couple of pieces of pecan that I had laying around. Then after that, I'm gonna go ahead and layer it some more with some more charcoal, then add some more wood pieces, wood chunks, and so on and so forth. And the end product, in my opinion, you have a very good balance of smoky flavor. So once you're done, I'm using about this much of wood. I had a bunch of pieces of pecan laying there. So after that, that's gonna be the last piece I'll be using for the top. And then from there, I'm just gonna go and close it up and get this fire going. At this point, I'm gonna go ahead and place the porkers on the top level. So I'm gonna go ahead and add the racks at the top of setting, because I'm also going to put a water pan. What I plan to do is fill up this water pan with water and have the drippings from the porker go ahead and flavor it. All right, first thing we're gonna do, remove the baffles. Okay, we're gonna make sure you take these out. That way you get that airflow from the fan. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and set those aside. After we remove those, we are going to turn on the smoker. So I'll be setting everything at about 250 degrees and calibrated as a cook goes on, but for the most part it'll be 250 degrees. I'm not gonna add a time just yet. What I like to work with is temperature, and that's pretty much about it. I hardly ever use the alarms for the time. Now we're gonna go ahead and add I don't have one of those little fire starter things that you put in that little rectangular slot right above the pan. I forgot to buy some, so I'm just gonna use plain old cardboard for this time that I had laying in the garage. But yeah, you want to get yourself a good fire starter. You just slide in there a little notch above it. All right, so after we go ahead and light up, I noticed once I'm using this cardboard or paper, whatever it is, kindling, dry lint that you use to light it up, it catches really quick, and the temperature pretty much skyrockets, as you can see already. I mean, you put enough, in there to catch, and then it'll go high. Look at that, it's already at 130 degrees. That's a little hack there that I think I'm gonna stick with, just putting a few pieces of cardboard paper. That works really, really well to get your temperatures up real fast. Okay, so after you have reached your temperatures, I'm gonna go ahead and add another piece of wood, this time a little bit bigger chunk of pecan wood. That way you get that initial great smoke flavor. So I'm gonna go ahead and add that right in the ash pan after I reach my certain degree and start cooking. All right, so now I'm gonna go ahead and place the water pan in the smoker. This is a little bit too big, but I mean, this is all an experiment. This cook in itself is an experiment. So I'm gonna just fill it up with as much water as I can, and then hopefully we have some really good tasting liquid to dip these tortillas in. Alrighty, so now that we have everything set, the water pan, the racks all placed in there, we're gonna add our pork. So I'm gonna put them all in the top rack here, evenly spaced out. It is a little bit of a tight fit, but make sure you have enough space in between them. That way you have that smoke, that heat circulate enough. Okay, so now that you have them in there, we're gonna go for a spritz I'd say every hour. Since we do have a water pan in there, we're gonna go ahead and spritz it with apple cider vinegar every hour, and that's gonna help tenderize it on top of that water pan that we already have in there. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna be using this little nifty container. You could get it on eBay for $5. about $5 to $8, or Dollar General if you have one in your area. So I went ahead and give it a few pumps, to create a pressure. And go ahead after every hour, spritz generously your porker, as you can see here, and keep it nice and moist. That way you don't have it drying out on you. You could use water. You could use apple juice, apple cider vinegar, regular vinegar, whatever you want. It's just your preference. You could use beer, orange juice, whatever it is that you want to try and spritz it with. You can. Okay, here we have another shot of the spritzing. It's starting to get a little bit of color after just a few hours. We're gonna, at this point again, go ahead and spritz it. Keep that bark nice and soft. I had a bunch of issues with this sprayer. That's why I hold the pump thingy and two-handed action here. But I mean, at this point the hog is smelling really good, and it's starting to get some color in it already. Okay, so at this point I had a little bit of a hiccup. I think it was about midnight. I put the hog at 7 p.m. It's coming up with a open message. I went ahead and checked all the lids, every single lid, the hopper lid, make sure it's not tightly closed. I had never encountered this message. It just said open. It was working. The lid was closed. I mean, there was no charring, nothing on the actual sensor itself. It took me a minute to try to assess the situation. I tried turning on and off the smoker with no luck. Again, I checked everything. Everything was good. So what I ended up doing is, putting a post on Facebook called Masterbuilt Gravity Feed Series fans on Facebook. It's a great page. And what I ended up having to do is bypass this deal here. Apparently, it's somewhat of a common problem, but it's easily fixable. So if you all are having a little bit of an issue with this problem, you could bypass the whole opening and closing door option. So what I went ahead and did is in this part here, I had no idea what was going on. Ooh, look at that color. That's a nice color. It's about five and a half, between 5 and 6 hours of cooking there. But I went ahead and I just shut her down and supplemented the rest of the cook with the Masterbuilt MES 440 digital electric smoker is what I ended up doing. Again, thank you Masterbuilt for sending me a fully equipped unit to go ahead and test out for them. And it turned out to be one of my favorite smokers around. That smoker could pretty much do just about everything. So here it is, Masterbuilt 40-inch smoker. I love this big unit because you can pretty much do everything. This unit itself came with the finishing elements, rotisserie kit, extended wheel base kit, shelf, rotisserie motor, extra probes, pretty much extra everything. So this bad boy, y'all should check it out. Right now it's at about $200 off online. So you could do anything, from roasting a whole chicken, and they're making jerky. The jerky one is my favorite. It's got individual controls for your smoke settings, your upper elements, your lower elements, cold smoking, pretty much everything, you name it. And it's pretty good. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn it on at this point, and I'm gonna set my my temperature. Cool thing about these digital electric smokers, they have the whole Wi-Fi, Bluetooth deal. This one in particular has the Bluetooth in itself, so I'm gonna be able to connect it through the inside and control everything while watching TV. That way, I just pretty much set it and forget it. That's the best part about these smokers. I went ahead and set it at a smoke level of 3. That's my personal preference. and that's what we're using. Again, the thyme, you really don't mess with the thyme. I'll be using some Masterbuilt wood chunks. These are hickory, and you'll have to give them a try. I mean, these are about the perfect size of wood chunks. You can smoke pretty much, you know, the whole night. This is a pretty big, hefty box. I really do recommend it. Y'all give it a shot. To show you the sizes of these chunks here, they're about 1.5 inches, 2 inch in diameter, and these are, like I said, they're clean cut. They're great. They're awesome. I like them so much. I mean, I like the whole, you know, symmetrical look to it. So I'm gonna go ahead and open up the hopper, add a few. I think about like 1 or 2 pieces, depending how much time I want to be outside refilling it. But I've noticed that if you put too many wood chunks in there, you're gonna end up flaring up. You do not want that. You know that. Do you see a little black patch on the door? That's creosote. Just leave that be. Yeah. So just put a couple of chunks is good enough. And I've noticed about every 40 minutes is how long these chunks burn for. So I've been having to come out about every 40 minutes to go ahead and refill them, which ain't bad at all, because it, it gives me a reason to go ahead and peek at the meat. So I'm gonna go ahead and add these pieces, these pork pieces in the center rack here. So I'm gonna just put them in the same order. On the top rack, I'm gonna put 2. And on the bottom one, I'm gonna just put that third one, and every 2 to 3 hours I'll be rotating them. That way every single one of them gets an even cook, an even temperature in here. Okay, so besides the spritzing every hour, I went ahead and checked an internal temperature of 165 degrees to go ahead and start wrapping. I really love the crimson color that this Masterbuilt MES 440 gives. I love it. Like I love how it looks. Look at that. I love this dark red, crimson color. It was a little hot there. I didn't have insulated gloves, but we're gonna go ahead and start the whole wrapping deal. A lot of people go with butcher paper. A lot of people go with aluminum paper. I've done both. My personal preference is aluminum paper. I tried the butcher paper, but I did notice that I lost a lot of juices, especially since I wasn't, putting a pan underneath the smoker to catch the drippings. I've noticed that using aluminum paper obviously helps tenderize and soften up that bark. Also catch pretty much and retain all the juices that expel from the meat itself. I really like this because at the end you're able to catch everything in that little aluminum shell there. I like juicy pork. I don't like dried out stuff, so I find it, on almost every pork butt, I'm able to save at least half a cup of juice that could be added back into the shredded meat. I use a crock pot to go ahead and add all the shredded pork. Each person is different. I find a crock pot helps quite a bit in maintaining this pork ready for when you have your guests come over. At this point, I'm gonna go ahead and open it up. You can see the color there that it attained. Besides, wrapping it, you also start getting a little bit more of a darker color than anticipated. So every time you pull it out to wrap, you're always gonna get a little bit of a darker color. You can see what I'm talking about as far as the juices go, right there. What I like to do is usually I like to pull. I didn't do it in this video, but I like to flip it upside down. The reason I like to flip it upside down, I don't think I did in this video, but is that way I could just peel off that back cap, and it peels off real easily. In this video, I don't think I did it at all, but you're able to peel off that back cap and expose the meat that you smoke there. Look at that, it's just so tender. I pull it out, I believe at around 203 to 205 degrees. After that, you just fall off the bone. Goodness, as you can see here. Right, so a lot of people love injecting their meat. A lot of people like putting all kinds of rubs. Me, I'm a simple seasoning type of guy. You know, just salt and pepper, and that's pretty much about it. I don't, as far as pork goes, I really don't put anything else at all. Salt and pepper, and that's pretty much about it. I really don't like to cover the flavor of the pork that you work so hard, so many hours to achieve. You know, I really don't like covering it up. So salt and pepper, easy does it. That's all it takes. At this point, I'm using a pair of bear claws because, like I said, my gloves aren't insulated, and this thing is just insanely tender. You get some really nice colored bark there, some dark reds in there, and you get a nice little presentation of dark colors. I found this method that I use as far as the seasoning and the spritzing and the pulling it out 165 degrees and wrapping it with foil paper. That's about the best kind of results that I like when it comes to the pork. So now we're just gonna finely shred it. I like my my pork really well shredded. That way, whenever I pull it out and put it on the plates, you don't get these clumps. Now there's the fat cap right there. You can see it right there. It's pretty easy to separate. A lot of people don't know this, but those fine threads of meat are so delicious. I could just roll up that fat cap and just eat it like a little rolled taco, but not today. Yeah, just shred it as much as you can. I like to break everything down, the bark. That way, the salt that was on the surface, that bark, mixes really well with the rest of the meat. Since I used, it was light salt and pepper, I like to break everything down as much as I can. That way it flavors every piece of meat in there. Some of the best tasting pork I made was with the Masterbuilt, bar none. I'm a really simple kind of guy. I do have a family, so I don't have time to be babysitting, offset smokers. I mean, this Masterbuilt brand really does pull through when it comes to the whole set it and forget it type of deal. All right, next step. After we have the pork finely shredded, we're gonna go ahead and dip our corn tortillas in the broth that we used, the drippings of this pork. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna coat it. I'm gonna just dip it in there pretty good. Shake it off, put it on a griddle. Do the same with another 3 to 4. I mean, that itself, that broth, that au jus, or whatever you call it, oh my goodness, you could drink that by itself. So that's a meal in itself. Really, really good. I'm also going to add some shredded cheese, a good amount, and just let that tortilla kind of crisp up. Each person is different. I like my tortillas nice and crispy. That way they're nice and hard, so whenever you start stuffing it with your meat or your stuffing, it doesn't soak up, because nothing is worse than having a soggy tortilla and it break down before your first bite. So these are a little bit crispy here. I went ahead and put them on aluminum paper, and then we're gonna go and start adding the pork. So add yourself a good amount of pork that you want. Like I said, I really don't like chunks of meat falling in there, and I like nice shredded amounts of meat on there. I mean, this dish is already starting to look really good. If y'all could only have that smell-o-vision, oh my goodness, that'd be the icing on the cake on this video. This pork and this toasted tortilla smells so so good, along with the cheese and that broth I dipped everything in. Oh man, it's heaven, I'm telling you. You all have got to try this type of dish as far as tacos go. So I'm gonna go ahead and sprinkle a little bit of onion on each one of these tacos. Looks like I didn't have enough there, but yeah, Put in onion. I love onion. A lot of people don't like onion. You can put whatever the heck you want. I like putting onion. I like putting loads of cilantro as well. I mean, you can't have a taco without onion, cilantro, and salsa. And that's exactly what we're doing here. Onion, minced onion, minced cilantro, and salsa. That is the last part of the puzzle here. This is chile de arbol salsa that I ended up putting on here. If you all have, tried chile de arbol salsa, it is the best. My sister-in-law makes the best salsa ever. Shout out to Claudia Diaz here in Clint, Texas, for making me the salsa. And we're gonna add quite a bit of it. It's nice and spicy, so we're gonna add some of that and just a drizzle of barbecue sauce. You could use your own barbecue sauce. You could use store-bought barbecue sauce, or you could not add any barbecue sauce at all. Well, since this is a barbecue dish, I did end up adding just a little bit, just to give it a little bit of flavor. Now look at those tacos. Does that not look good? That looks, oh man, that looks just glorious. That is, I think right now, my favorite dish. As I was making this video, I think I had about like six tacos before making this video. So and there's plenty more gonna be in. So this is a dish that you never get tired of. It just looks incredible. Very. All right, so moment of truth. We have here the tacos in its own consomme, I guess you could say it. So here we go. That is really good. It's packed with flavor. That's a great crunch. That was really, really good. Wow. All right. I'm gonna finish up this taco, and don't forget to like, comment, subscribe for more videos.